Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome tonight to the Glynn County Board of Commissioners meeting Thursday, June 16th, 2022. I'm going to ask that we all rise, and Commissioner Fendig will give the invocation, and Commissioner Tosson will lead us in the pledge. We'll move to our public comment portion. Public comments are limited to 5 minutes. Mr. Stephen Vigliano has signed up to speak. If you'll come forward, sir, please state your name for the record.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Stephen Vigliano. Can everybody hear all right? Okay, my name is Stephen Vigliano. I'm a fire lieutenant paramedic here with the Glynn County Fire Department. I want to bring up a couple points today speaking on behalf of the new proposed personnel policy. I'm coming to you today to speak on behalf of my fellow Glynn County firefighters. Everybody who's present here and those who are on duty currently would like us to start by saying that we take great pride in our department and in our community. We're also grateful for all this commission has done for us so far. We are here to pose a request that you can postpone the adoption of the personnel policy until we can better determine how it will affect our organization. We are concerned about certain elements of the policy, and we believe that they may negatively affect both short and long-term health of our organization. We have concerns as some of the changes in the personnel policy that may affect our department operations and retention are those given with merit raises, paid time off, and some other ones that we're not going to. This isn't the forum, nor do we have the time to discuss all of them. Should this take effect before the career track can be adjusted, and this is in reference to the merit raises, there will be little reason for certain career-minded employees to remain employed here, taking with them experience, training, and education that Glynn County and our tax dollars have provided to them. Under the subject of PTO, the transition from the sick and vacation model to the PTO model will likely create further staffing shortages by granting those with no current sick time, excuse me, a surplus of time while taking time from those who have chosen to conserve their time. As far as the fire department goes, this could result in more firefighters being forced to work overtime against their wishes. But more importantly, this policy will provide, again, retention challenges due to the overwhelming number of employees who will be losing the total volume of paid time off that they've accrued. So in conclusion, to be clear, we do see that there are several benefits to the new personnel policy. Some of the changes we do believe will create short and long-term operational challenges if our department is not given the time to address these changes before this policy is implemented. We are confident these changes are being proposed to meet the best interests of Glynn County, but the fire department is unique in function, hours, staffing, requirements, and demands, and our operations will need to be adjusted before this policy takes effect in order for us to continue to perform the task to the best of our ability. Thank you so much for your time, and we really do hope you can bring that to consideration.
Thank you, Steve. We appreciate your coming forward to speak to us. We'll now move to our proclamation portion of the evening. We have a proclamation recognizing the Gullah Geechee Nation Appreciation Week. Whereas Glynn County, Georgia was founded in 1777 as one of the original 8 counties of Georgia. At the founding, Africans were brought in to build this county. These Africans came to reside in the Golden Isles to include St. Simon, Sea Island, and Jekyll, as well as the county seat of Brunswick. This population of enslaved Africans, who are now called Gullah Geechee, and their descendants continue to occupy this region. And whereas these Gullah Geechees have made history by being either aboard the last documented enslavement vessel to North America, which arrived at Jekyll Island, called the Wanderer, on November 28, 1858, or being a part of the Ebos of the Ebo landing that resisted enslavement, Queen Quet, chiefess of the Gullah Geechee Nation, has done ceremonies to honor the souls of Ebo landing on St. Simon's and of the Wanderer on Jekyll. And whereas Queen Quet has worked with the Gullah Geechees in the Glynn County to establish what is now the St. Simon's African American Heritage Coalition and the Gullah Geechee Board of Brunswick in order to ensure that the history of Gullah Geechees continued to be told. Queen Quet became the first Gullah Geechee in the world to speak before the United Nations on behalf of the Gullah Geechees and establish the Gullah Geechee Sea Island Coalition to continue the work to sustain Gullah Geechee culture and land ownership. And whereas following Queen Quet's international human rights intervention on behalf of the Gullah Geechees, this group of self-sufficient people came together in 1999 through the Sea Islands and Low Country of the Carolinas, Georgia, and Florida to stand on their human rights to self-determination. The group took 1 year to elect their own leader. They elected and installed Queen Quet, chiefess of the Gullah Geechee Nation, and Queen Quet has served as the official head bond and spokesman of the Gullah Geechees since July 2nd, 2000. And whereas we support the continuation of Gullah Geechee cultural heritage and sustainability of the Gullah Geechee Nation, a series of activities will take place throughout Glynn County to honor the history and legacy of the Gullah Geechee Nation during the Gullah Geechee Nation Appreciation Week. And we join in celebrating the theme, is who we be, celebrating the Gullah Geechee living legacy. Now therefore be it proclaimed that July 30th through August 6, 2022 is Gullah Geechee Nation Appreciation Week in Glynn County, Georgia. It is there witnessed and set in by my hand on the 16th of this day, June 16th, 2022. Queen Quet, if you'll please come forward.
How want the children to do? How want the children to do? Ain't no, oh, thank you, sir. Answer for all of them. They ain't getting me talk. Okay, I'm so glad for day this evening one more again. And I been yet in my soul while I've been to sit there. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, but we. And before we be on our slaves, we going be buried with grace and going home till we go and be free. And then tell me that way you yeti from St. Simon back a yonder with the Ebo then. And this your time. We about to celebrate Juneteenth. About freedom. So I know that why the ancestors put them in the soul as I've been a kind up here. But for all 100 children, what come here, and been here, I can't speak your language as well. And I just want to thank Glynn County for continuing this celebration to honor Gullah Geechees in this county. And the irony tonight is that Leland, the town of Leland in North Carolina, is simultaneously presenting me with this proclamation in my absence. Their county is Brunswick. And here I'm in the city of Brunswick in Glynn County, Georgia. So I thought y'all would get a kick out of knowing that. But I told them I had to come here, and so I couldn't be there also. But I'm very pleased that both of these things are happening and making history our story and continuing the Gullah Geechee legacy. So happy Juneteenth to everyone, and definitely we pray Hona Chilling going to be shouting with we for Gullah Geechee Nation Appreciation Week. Thank you once again, Glynn County.
All right, we're going to change the order a little bit since we have a lot of people who are interested in item 20. So we're going to move to item 20, since I find it. Is that correct? Yes. Item 20 is consider adopting a resolution to approve and amended the restated Glynn County personnel policy as presented. Ms. Munson, if you will come forward, as you already are, and give us an update on this.
All right. Good evening, commissioners and employees and citizens that are here. I'm here to provide a brief, hopefully brief overview of some of the changes in the personnel policy that are being proposed tonight. These changes were initiated by the Board of Commissioners. They hired Excellence Exceeded to review and recommend policy changes to update our 20-year-old personnel policy. This is part 2 of a 3-stage process. Part 1 was the pay plan update, which provided competitive salaries in the marketplace, and that was implemented in March of 22. Part 2 is a county department reorganization to provide measured performance, increase accountability, and balance reporting lines, and that is also on the agenda for approval tonight. And Part 3 was a personnel policy update, which was implemented to provide market competitive benefits, close loopholes, increase accountability, increase efficiency, improve service response times, reduce abuse of sick leave, clarify work hour expectations, and provide stability in the newly adopted pay plan. If this is approved tonight, the changes will be effective on July 3rd, which is the first day of the new fiscal year. And there are clean and redlined copies of the policy which are attached to the agenda, so you can see everything that's changed in the policy. This was a very extensive policy rewrite. Again, this is the first time our policy has had a major rewrite in 20 years. And so I'm not going to be covering everything that was included in that update. I'm going to try to hit some of the highlights tonight. So some of the changes in pay, changes, and evaluations. We have added emergency administrative leave to the policy. In the past, if we had a mandatory evacuation, employees would either have to use vacation time, or if they had no vacation, if they were a new employee, or if they had already used all their vacation, they would have to take that time off unpaid. And we heard from a lot of the employees that this was a real challenge, especially for folks that are living paycheck to paycheck, which is a huge portion of our employees. And it created a burden on them. How can you go a week or two without pay if you're not prepared for that? You have bills to pay. And so we took that into consideration, and we added this to the personnel policy to provide paid administrative leave for mandatory evacuations for personnel. People that work the evacuation, right now they receive overtime pay, and that is not changed. That will continue. They will continue to receive overtime pay for working in emergency evacuations. But we will also give them credit in their PTO bank for any emergency hours worked. So that gives them some extra time that they're able to take off if they use this, if they have to work. Annual evaluations, we have typically done those throughout the year at different times based on anniversary dates, and this policy proposes that we move to a one-time per year countywide annual evaluation. Merit increases. The policy says that it may be provided as a lump sum payment based on direction from the board during the budget process. This is how our policy reads now. There is no change to this portion of the policy. This is a change in what the board has asked is the normal practice. So right now, the board can choose to provide merit raises that increase the base salary of an employee, or they can choose, like they did last year, to provide a one-time lump sum amount to an employee. And that's what we did. If you remember, I believe in fiscal year 21, we provided lump sum amounts. So this is not a change in the policy. This is just a clarification that this is an option. It gives future commissions and the current commission the ability to do either way, whichever way that they want to do it. I will say that our consultant that wrote this policy proposed this change to the merit increases, that it not increase the base pay of an employee, because what has happened over many years is these merit raises are based on performance evaluation scores. So you have some departments that might say, I want all my employees to get the max available merit, so I'm going to give them all a perfect evaluation. None of them ever do anything wrong. So the folks that work in those departments, year after year after year, they keep getting max evaluations. Then you have another department head that says, I'm going to provide performance evaluations that are honest, and I'm going to give perfect scores to those who perform perfectly, but for those who don't perform perfectly, I'm going to provide an honest evaluation. So then you have people in different departments that are being unfairly treated, and after years and years of accumulation, these merit raises add up, and it creates an inequity in the pay plan between employee A and employee B in two different departments that are doing the same job. So that was why this was recommended by the consultant, to try to decrease the issues that we have in our pay plan that we just worked to try to correct a few months ago. Retroactive pay, this is limited to 4 pay periods, which is 2 months. And this is an administrative policy change that we're asking employees and supervisors to jointly be responsible for turning in paperwork and getting it to us on time. When we have to go back and calculate retroactive pay for 6 weeks, 6 months, a year and a half late, it creates a lot of challenges in HR and in finance. So we're limiting this, we've asked to limit retroactive pay to 4 pay periods. The disciplinary process proposed in the new policy has changed. We've reduced the timeline for the disciplinary process from about 60 days to about 15 days. This will help with morale in the departments, and it won't drag things out as long. The disciplinary process has been simplified. The notice of pending discipline has been eliminated in this proposal and replaced with the notice of discipline. So in our current process, you receive a 5-day pre-advance notice that you're going to be disciplined. And so what this does is it eliminates that 5-day window. The discipline is provided. You can still appeal this process, that none of those appeal rights have changed, and employees still have the ability to appeal. Hearings for appeal will now be heard by one uninvolved director instead of panels of employees and involved directors. Terminated employees will no longer be paid during the appeal process. If we get to a point in a disciplinary process that we're at termination, the employee can still appeal it. However, they will, if the termination is overturned on appeal, they will be back paid for any pay that they missed. So this will just help to continue to move this process along. Vacation and sick leave to PTO and catastrophic leave. So this is a huge change in the policy. And so I'm going to try to hit the highlights. There's lots of changes, but this portion that was presented and prepared by our consultant is to convert from a vacation and sick leave policy to a paid time off policy and a catastrophic leave policy. So this rewards employees with more flexible time to use instead of limiting it by having it in categories of vacation and sick. Sick time is supposed to be used for actual sickness, and unfortunately, there are some employees who choose to use that for time off. So it really provides a negative working environment for those employees who do not abuse their sick time. There is still a safety net for severe sickness and illness through the catastrophic leave policy. The rationale for the changes to this leave policy is to reduce abuse of sick leave by some employees and to provide additional flexibility for days off. So this is an example, and this is a true life example. We have employee A who has been employed for 5 years. They earn $40,000 a year. They've used 5 sick days over the past 5 years, which converts to 40 hours. They've used their sick time for actual sicknesses. We have employee B who has also worked 5 years and earns $40,000 a year. They've used all the sick time that they've accrued over the past 5 years, which is 480 hours. They used sick time when they wanted a day off or when they were sick. So employee A, who makes the same amount of money and has been here the same amount of time as employee B, has worked 11 more weeks or 55 additional days for the same type of compensation as employee B. So this is what drove the commission to make these changes, is to try to reduce the abuse of sick time. What we did to try to offset that, because we realized that going from a large bank of sick leave, most of the people that have a large bank of sick leave have not abused their time. They have saved it up. They've kept it. So we did not want to create a hardship for the employees. So the consultant recommended that we provide additional time that can be carried over. So right now, the current carryover process for leave is 400 hours. At the end of December, you can only carry over 400 hours. Anything over that is put into your sick time bank. The new policy will allow 500 hours to be carried over. So this gives employees an extra 2.5 weeks that they can use throughout the year for sniffles, headaches, or whatever that they would typically use a sick day for. Or if they get the flu, they have an extra 2.5 weeks in their bank that they can use for that. If they don't get the flu, then they have an extra 2.5 weeks in their bank that they could potentially take a vacation if they wanted to. So this provides more flexibility for the employees to be able to use those days for either sick or time off. There's also the comparison for the fire employees. Fire employees earn time and carry over time at 1.5 times the rate of a regular employee. This is a comparison of leave accruals for regular employees under the old plan, and I'm not going to go through all of this, but if you had worked here for 16 to 20 years, you would get 160 hours of vacation, 96 hours of sick time, and you would get 200, and that was a total of 256 hours a year that you can use. And keep in mind, this was supposed to be used for sick time, this 96 hours. So if you weren't sick, you had 160 hours that you could use for vacation. Under the new plan, if you've been here that amount of time, you'll get 216 PTO hours. No, it doesn't line up because this had 4 tiers and the consultant proposed 5 tiers. So this is just, but yeah, if you've been here over 21 years, you would get 296 total under the old plan, and here you would get 240 under the new plan. So it is less hours. However, if you do not abuse your sick time and you are only, you're really using vacation, then you have more hours that you can use for vacation time. So it's a give and take. One of the things that the board wanted to do was reduce abuse of sick time, and so the consultant recommended this as a way to do that. These are the same accrual tables for 24-hour fire personnel. I'm not going to go over these, but they're here if anyone wants to review them. So catastrophic leave. This is leave for catastrophic or severe illnesses or injuries. Excess PTO will roll into catastrophic leave up to 2,080 hours. And accrued, right now, the way the policy is written, accrued PTO must be used before you can use catastrophic leave. So the way it is written right now is that catastrophic leave would be used for a catastrophic life-altering event, not strep throat, not the flu, but an actual catastrophic event. Strep throat and the flu would be covered by your PTO bank, which you have that extra 2.5 weeks that you can carry over in. Right now, the way that the policy is written, an application would be submitted to the Human Resources Director, and we are in the process of developing an objective review and checklist process so that it is objective and not subjective on who gets approved for catastrophic leave and who doesn't. But that would not be part of the policy. That is a separate administrative piece, and we have been working on that. So examples of eligible uses: cancer treatment, kidney dialysis treatment. On kidney dialysis, this is something that happens periodically. So one of the portions in the policy is that you can take catastrophic leave intermittently if you qualify for this. So if you have to go once a week for kidney dialysis, you can take 4 hours or 8 hours a week of your catastrophic leave for that treatment, because that is a life-altering treatment that if you don't get will affect your ability to live. Organ transplants, a major heart attack, a catastrophic accident, or care of an immediate family member with an approved catastrophic condition or injury. Examples of ineligible uses: cold, flu, strep throat, COVID without additional severe complications, a headache, a toothache, a sprain, a back pain, anxiety and depression day to day, unless you're in hospital treatment for this, pregnancy and maternity leave, broken bones, elective or cosmetic surgery, or care for an immediate family member without a catastrophic condition. So again, this is all based on what was recommended to us, based on the way that other catastrophic policies are written in other counties. We can make changes to this if you all don't like the way this is written, but this was what was recommended. The vacation to sick PTO conversion, the way this will work is your vacation and sick balances will be added together. The first 500 hours, or 750 for fire, will be put into a PTO bank that you can use for vacation or sick. So it's paid time off. Additional hours will be placed into a catastrophic leave bank up to 2,080 hours. And then anything over that will be placed into an excess leave bank. And what happens when you retire with excess leave and catastrophic leave is if you're still in the old pension plan, you can apply your catastrophic leave or your excess leave towards your years of service for the pension plan. So a lot of folks, that's why they save their sick time and they don't use it, because they want to be able to retire at 27 years but get credit for 30. Under this plan, they absolutely have the ability to do that. They can take those hours that are in the catastrophic and excess leave and apply those towards their pension plan and get credit for those years of service. Employees who retire with 30 years or more, if you actually retire with 30 years, right now you don't get anything for your accrued sick leave. There's no benefit to putting it towards your pension plan, because after 30 years there's no additional benefit. So the folks that have stayed 30 years, been loyal employees, and have not used all their sick time, when they leave and they retire, they get nothing for that sick time. So we are proposing that they are eligible for a one-time payout of accrued catastrophic or excess leave up to 500 hours. So this would be a reward for those long-term employees where they could cash out up to 1,000 hours when they leave the county instead of 400 as it is now. I'm not going to go through all these conversions. These are more in here for the employees if they want to look at them, but I'll do a really quick. Someone who currently has 30 hours of vacation and 80 hours of sick, that will convert to 110 hours of PTO under this proposed plan. 450 hours of vacation and 1,800 hours of sick will convert to 500 hours of PTO and 1,750 for catastrophic. And then this is the final example I'll go through. 350 hours of vacation and 4,000 hours of sick would be 500 hours in their PTO bank, 2,080 hours in their catastrophic leave, and 1,770 hours in their excess leave bank. And these two bottom can be used combined to up to 3 full years to apply towards your years of service for pension. There's some examples in here for fire employees. We have heard some concerns from a lot of employees, and so the board has asked me to address some of those concerns tonight. One of the questions is, why won't merit increases affect my base salary, and how will I ever earn more money now? So cost of living adjustments will increase base salaries. These have been funded over the last several years, either through the budget process or through a lump sum payment. The commission, the board, and employees did go through about a 10-year period of no cost of living or merit raises. And so, there is some concern about this, but that happened during the recession, and in order to not have furloughs, they cut merit and COLAs. You can earn more money by cost of living. You can earn more money through career track promotions. Every 5 years, this is written into the policy now, that we will have to perform a market benchmark compensation plan study. Our last full pay plan study was over 20 years ago. So this will happen every 5 years, and when they review those market rates, folks will get adjusted in comparison to what the benchmark salaries are at that time. And then also through regular promotions, applying for other positions and moving up. Other concerns that we've heard from employees: I have been a loyal employee and have not abused my sick time. I've saved it up in case I need it. Now I feel like it's being taken away from me. So We tried to help offset this by adding the extra 100 hours into the PTO bank for those day-to-day uses and those day-to-day sicknesses. Serious sicknesses where you would need more than that extra 100 hours are still covered under the catastrophic leave policy, and those hours will still be available to you for emergency situations or serious illnesses. And they still have the ability to apply those hours towards their years of service for retirement. So those are the highlights. Again, I didn't cover everything. I didn't want y'all to have to be here all night, but I'm available for any questions that you have, and I'm happy to take those questions and do the best I can.
Well, thank you for such a comprehensive review in a short time. And I want to say this publicly. This board started working on this last fall with our consultant to put it together a three-step process to review the pay, but also to review the personnel policy that hadn't been reviewed in 20 years, to make changes and get it in line with current practices with counties throughout the state. And then also to look at our organizational chart and figure out if there's a better way to do it. So I've heard some comments that maybe Ms. Munson's driving this or Mr. Fallon. It's the Board of Commissioners who have asked that this be done. And so you've done a wonderful job of educating yourself and educating us and going through the details. It's not easy, and we appreciate that. I hope people won't take it out on you. You are not the one pushing this.
Thank you.
So that being said, Commissioners, do you have any questions or comments for Ms. Munson?
What about section 1.8 of the current personnel policy where there should be a
I'm sorry, ma'am. I'm sorry. This is not a public hearing at this point, so whatever.
regards my pay and the Board of Commissioners is to be assisted by an employee council? And I have an email conversation from Tara Small between one of my coworkers today stating there's not active employee council.
Ma'am, you're out of order. I appreciate okay, well, ma'am, I appreciate it. We had asked for no more outbursts. At this point, this is not a public comment period. This is not a public hearing. Commissioners will ask the questions. And if you have issues going forward, you can address them through your department heads and up to the county manager. This is a living document. We will try to make changes as we see that are needed. But the fact is, we have worked hard to overwrite a policy that had been in place for 20 years that needed to be updated. We're not trying to punish the employees of Glynn County. We appreciate everything that you guys do. But at the same time, we have to come to the realization that, the workplace has changed. And the facts are, as a county government going forward, we're going to have to make some changes, and we're trying to do the best we can. So I'd ask that there'd be no more outbursts at this time. If there are any, I'll ask the police chief to remove you. So, Commissioners, are there any questions that you have for Ms. Munson?
Mr. Chairman, I have one. Are employees able to also contribute if somebody is really sick and they need extra days? Can other employees contribute?
So we have built it into this policy that once that policy is adopted, that yes, they will be able to contribute. We are working on a sick bank for folks that aren't able to save up. But that policy has not been finished yet. The Board of Commissioners asked us to bring what we had forward. So this is what has been finished. But that is in process.
Okay. And I want to personally thank you, Tamara. I know how hard you worked on this, and I know it's not easy being an advocate for your fellow employees and then having to answer to us as well. Thank you.
More questions or comments?
This is consistent with what this commission has engaged as a corporate body to do. I think the pay compensation adjustment was the rightful and first step to make, and reorganization of a 20-year-old policy, personnel policy, is the right thing to do. But with that, I think it's evident of concern by the large number of our employees here that there's a lot of questions still to be answered and some thoughts. How long have this policy, since I know we've been working on, it, been put out? Has it been sent out through staff?
It was released earlier this week, I believe, on Tuesday afternoon. And part of that was there was still a lot of discussion on, how you wanted to do things. For example, the consultant recommended that we reduce the carryover leave to 320 hours for employees. And so we have been working on that diligently for a while to up that, because right now they have 400. We didn't want to remove that. And we asked that we update it to 500 to allow some additional flexibility. So we have worked through a lot of things that were recommended to bring this policy more in line with market. So the other counties were reviewed in developing this policy, and it was written to be in line with what other counties have, and to be more in line with market. So we've worked to try to provide additional benefits to employees. So it was not ready to be released, but it was only released earlier this week. I will say that if this policy passes tonight, Ms. Reed and I are prepared to hold training sessions next week with employees to answer all their questions, and to be available to help them work through the logistics of this policy. Or the board can send us back to make additional changes or come back with other ideas, and we'll continue to work with our consultant to get through that process.
Well, just my major concern is this is huge. I think it's all in the right direction, but I don't think it's appropriate to leave our staff, the people that we need, that we're trying to reinforce, at loss or confused or misunderstanding without really a little bit of time for them to kind of go back, see what's on the deck, and, maybe come back with some solutions or some changes that might need to be made. I just encourage my commissioners I want to affirm your work, your staff, and the commissioners that we all feel confident this is moving in the right direction. But out of the respect for the people that work for us, that serve the public, I think we need a little more vetting time or question time or just just a little more process for them to kind of get a hold of this big bear so that they feel comfortable going down the hallway with it and not it gobbling up things, so to speak. So that's just my thought. I would encourage my commission to, I know we have the option to approve this tonight. I know you can go back and make amend, but I think in fairness to the people that serve us with all their heart, with all their might, it's a good crew, that we just give them a little more time to digest, ask some questions, and maybe bring forth points that, we might need to tweak. That's just my thoughts, Commissioners.
Mayor, I assume the potential urgency here is that June 30th is the end of this fiscal
If we're
year.
going to convert the leave, it would be very beneficial for us to be able to do it in the new fiscal year. If there are reservations about going to the PTO and catastrophic leave policy, then it can wait. But that was part of the reason why we've brought it forward now, is because if we're going to convert it, it would be very helpful to do it at the end of the fiscal year.
Well, suffice it to say, this is not a perfect document, and it never will be. An onerous amount of work has gone into it over a period of time, and it's unfortunate that it gets down to but that's what it is. But it's a living document. It's not cast in stone. It can be changed week after next if we find that there are inequities in the process. Let me just say something about this commission and about the prior commission, about how we care for our greatest asset, and that's our employees. In 2018, after decades of not having a millage increase, we raised the millage in Glynn County 1.96 mils. That was a significant increase. And the lion's share of that money went to the employees' compensation. We had a revolving door at the police department. Policemen were leaving and going to Camden County, Brantley County, because they're making more money. And that money went directly into the county. And I still, every morning, pull the arrows out of my back for having raised that millage rate. This year, we've added $5 million in our budget to compensate our employees' compensation, recognizing that you're going to the same gas pump we are, same grocery store we are, and the cost of living is up. I know we've changed our pension plan from a defined benefit plan to a defined contribution plan, and you need to be thankful we did that, because at the state of this economy, that pension fund potentially could be insolvent by the time you got ready to use it. And so that was for the benefit of the employees. And I know a lot of people didn't like it, but that's what it had to be. Your pension fund insolvency isn't worth much of nothing. I think the plan here is that we wanted to create a level playing field. And I think we've made great strides to do that. And I support what we're doing, and I support it because it is a living document. It is not set in stone. And if there are inequities, we'll change it. Thank you.
And to Mr. Brunson's comments, I would like to add that, you know, we have encouraged through this process that any employee that has valid points, go through their department head, make a list of the questions that you have, present them through your department head into management, and we'll look at these things. We're not trying to hurt any of our loyal employees. We work hard to protect our employees, and Glynn County is a great place. Glynn County, our employment base is good with our county employees. We treasure them. I think everything that Commissioner Brunson said is accurate. To say that we're not looking out for our employees is a misstatement, and it's unfair. We're doing that. We want to hear from you, but it's imperative that we get this into this year's this coming year's budget to get these policies set, and we can change these things. Just go through your department head, make your list, bring your concerns, and we'll listen to them, and we'll act upon them. But it's time to do this. We told everyone months ago that we've got this three-pronged project that we're doing here, and the salary increases were the first leg of that, and we did it. Everyone knew that this was coming, and these adjustments, while maybe not fair to every person in every situation, in the overall is very fair, and it's very commensurate with other governments that surround us. It's very fair compared to what the private market is. It's more than fair, and we're going to work through this. We want to hear you. We want to continue to hear from you, but I think it's imperative that we move this forward.
I would certainly agree also that tonight's the night to move this forward to start in the new year. I echo the sentiments of the other commissioners. We will look at all concerns and try to evaluate them and see if there need to be any more changes. I will say this, though. The fact that we didn't update this policy over the last 20 years speaks a lot to why we are where we are tonight. And if we had been doing things in a systematic way, and I realize the recession put us in an odd position, but if we're doing things systematically, as this says, every 5 years doing a benchmark study on salaries and making sure that our employees are getting the salaries that they're supposed to be getting, I think it's going to help us in the long run attract and retain the best employees that we can. We certainly value those that have been here now, and I believe we've shown that through the increase in pay that we passed in March. It would have been easy for this commission to say, well, let's cut the millage and don't give the employees pay. And people would pat us on the back. But a lot of people gave us a hard time about it. But we felt like it was the right thing to do. And we do value each and every one of you, and we wish everything was perfect, and it came out perfect, and no one had any complaints. But we will listen to complaints, and we'll evaluate them. So, Commissioners, do we have any motions on the floor at this time?
Mr. Chairman, just one other comment. I just want to reaffirm that I think giving a breath to our staff and to our employees would be worthy. I'm willing to come back here at the end of this, in a couple weeks here, anytime before our cutoff time is, and just let everybody have a chance to digest it and feedback and then approve it. I think we're in the right direction, but I think our employees deserve a little, this is major. It's well-intended. I'm for it, but I think we just need to give them a time to inhale, and I can come back anytime the end of this, before the end of the year.
Do I have a motion on the floor, Commissioners?
You say we have a motion on?
I said, do I have a motion on the floor?
I move we move forward with the plan as presented.
Second.
Second.
I had a motion to move forward with the personnel policy as presented with a second by the motion by Commissioner Brunson, a second by Commissioner Neal and Commissioner Tostenson. Is there any further discussion, Commissioners? Yeah, all right, all in favor, please raise your right hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All opposed? 1 opposed. Motion passes. Thank you, Ms. Munson. Ms. Munson, I don't think you get to move too far.
Yay. All right.
We'll go to item number 2 to consider adopting the proposed Glynn County FY 22-23 budget. Ms. Munson.
All right, so the budget public hearing was heard.
Ms. Munson, why don't we take just a breath of break here? Let the people that wish to leave.
All right, Ms. Munson, you can go ahead and start.
All right, we had the budget public hearing a couple of weeks ago at our last commission meeting, and nothing has been changed in the proposed FY23 budget from that point. So I do not have a presentation tonight, but I am available for any questions that you may have.
Commissioners, any questions for Ms. Munson concerning the FY23 budget?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to recommend, move to approve the resolution to adopt the fiscal year 2023 budget as presented.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Neal, a second by Commissioner Booker and Commissioner Tostenson. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes 7-0. Move on to consent agenda. Approval, I need a motion to approve the
Chairman,
consent
I make a-
agenda unless someone has anything they wish to pull. Go ahead, sir.
Make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented with the exception of any item a commissioner wishes to pull.
Second. Got a motion to the consent agenda, a second. Is there any further discussion? Anything anyone wants to pull? If not, we'll have a motion. All in favor, raise your right hand. Passes unanimously 7-0. We'll go to public hearing. Public hearings will be limited to 30 minutes for each opposing side with 5 minutes allocated to each individual speaker. Comments are to be limited to relevant information regarding your position and should be avoid being repetitious. If your group has a spokesperson, please allow that individual present your group's position in the time allocated. Your cooperation in the process will be greatly appreciated. Item number 15, AB 4994, consider the abandonment of a portion of the Olive Way right-of-way in the East End subdivision as shown at the attached abandoned application with easements being established as recommended. Ms. Thompson.
Good evening, Commissioners. Pamela Thompson, Director of Community Development. This is, as you said, a request for abandonment for a portion of Olive Way. This is a map showing the location of the proposed abandonment. This was included in your meeting packet. This is a closer look, and as you can see, this little strip of land is immediately adjacent to some already abandoned. This is the plat. The yellow highlighted area is the area being requested for abandonment. This is another view of that plat. This is a view of that strip of land looking east from across the street. County Engineer Paul Andrews sent this request out to our utility partners to see if there were any requests in. Joint Water and Sewer has water and sewer in the area and requested to maintain an easement. Glynn County has storm drainage and needs to maintain an easement. And Georgia Power has utilities and requires an easement. This was properly noticed, and we received public comments from Mr. Steve Copeland regarding the location of the abandonment relative to the prior abandonment of Beach Drive. He was provided with the information and indicated that he has now reviewed the information in detail and is okay with the request. This is a possible motion if you want to consider this. Mr. Hal Sigmund is the applicant. He is present this evening and is happy to answer any questions if you would like. That concludes the staff report, and this is a public hearing.
Commissioners, any questions for Ms. Thompson before we move into the public hearing portion? No questions. All right. All those who are opposed to this abandonment, would you please come forward and speak? Those who are opposed? Nobody is opposed. We'll close that portion of the public hearing. Those that are in favor of this abandonment, please, you may please step forward and speak at this time. Those in favor? All right, that will close the public hearing at this time. Commissioners, any comments or questions or motions?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the abandonment of a portion of the Olive Way right-of-way in the East End subdivision as shown on the attached abandonment application with easements being established as recommended.
Got a motion by Commissioner Rafalski to approve, second by Commissioner Neal. Is there any further discussion? Okay, we'll call for the vote. All in favor, raise your right hand. That's 7-0. Passes 7-0. Item number 16, public hearing, land use, ZM 5070, 20 Trade Street rezone. Request to rezone 20 Trade Street, parcel 0309292 from the general commercial zoning district to the office commercial zoning district. The applicant intends to reduce the types of commercial permitted uses allowed on this parcel. Gary Neville, Shoup Surveying, agent for J. Torbett, Southeastern Bank owner. Ms. Thompson.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Commissioners. Pamela Thompson, Director of Community Development. Again, this is a request to rezone 5.36 acres from general commercial to office commercial. The parcel is currently vacant, and the proposed use is office building. GC zoning allows for a wide variety of commercial uses, and the applicant is requesting to rezone to office commercial in order to limit the number and types of commercial uses allowed on the property. Other than the office building, OC zoning only allows for limited commercial, including specific types. Single-family homes and duplexes are also allowed. This is the site plan and zoning map of the parcel. This is the sketch plan of the parcel. The Mainland Planning Commission heard this at their June 7th, 2022 meeting and voted 6-0 to recommend approval of ZM 5070. Pursuant to the zoning ordinance, these are your potential actions that are available to you. Mr. Gary Neville is here on behalf of the applicant to make his case, and this is a public hearing.
Commissioners, any comments from Ms. Thompson before we open the public hearing?
Ms. Thompson, this would be considered a downzoning, is that true?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We'll open the public hearing portion of this public hearing right now. For those that would like to speak in opposition to ZM 5070, would you please come forward and state your name for the record? Those who would like to speak in opposition. Seeing none, hearing none, we'll close that portion of the public hearing. Those who would at least like to speak in favor of ZM 5070. Those that would like to speak in favor. Seeing none, hearing none, we'll close the public hearing. Commissioners, are there any questions or comments or motions?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve, that we approve the proposed zoning decision.
Second.
Got a motion to approve the proposed zoning decision by Commissioner Brunson, a second by Commissioner Rafalski. Is there any more discussion, commissioners? If not, we'll take a vote. All in favor, raise your right hand. It passes 7-0.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Item number 17, approve the appointment of Christy D. Jordan and William B. Dawson to the Board of Governors of the Brunswick and Glynn County Development Authority to fill the expired terms of Christy D. Jordan and R. Wayne Johnson, beginning on the date they take their oaths after the appointments and ending the later of July 31st, 2025, or until their successors are appointed. This item was deferred from June 2nd, 2022 meeting. Commissioners, any questions or comments or motions?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint these very qualified candidates, Christy Jordan and Bill Dawson, to the Board of Governors of the EDA.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Brunson, a second by Commissioner Tostenson and Rafalski to appoint Christy Jordan and William Dawson to the Board of Governors of the Board of Glynn County Development Authority. Any other discussion, commissioners? If not, all in favor, raise your right hand. That passes 7-0. 18, consider issuing the call to commence renegotiation proceedings with the City of Brunswick for the distribution of the local option sales tax, lost proceeds, and authorize written notice of this call be sent to the mayor and commissioners of the City of Brunswick. Mr. Mumford.
Good evening, Commissioners. So every 10 years, the county and city throughout the state of Georgia have to renegotiate the split of the local option sales tax distribution. Our current certificate that we negotiated in 2012 and went into effect in 2013 will expire at the end of this calendar year on December 31st. In order for that tax to continue, we have to submit a new certificate to the state no later than December 30th of this year. Per state law, we have to initiate negotiations no later than June 30th, and we have to send notice to the city that we are beginning those negotiations. The letter that's on your agenda to authorize would authorize negotiations to start on June 28th, and that's what that letter would do. If a little guidance beyond that, if the parties can't come to an arrangement within 60 days, then it'll go to mediation. But it will expire within this year, and this letter does kick off those negotiation proceedings per state law.
Commissioners, do you have any questions for Mr. Mumford regarding this? All right. Do I have a motion by anyone?
Chairman, I move that we move forward with this process as outlined by the county attorney.
I have a motion by Commissioner Booker, a second by Commissioner Rafalski to move forward and commence the renegotiation proceedings with the City of Brunswick for the distribution of local option sales tax proceeds, and to authorize that written notice of the call to be sent to the mayor and commissioners of the City of Brunswick. So we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion, commissioners? All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes 7-0. Item 19, accept the county manager's recommended reorganization of county departments. Mr. Fallon, are you, there you are. Nice to see you. Can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Right. All right. Good evening, everyone. Sorry I couldn't be there in person. When I first arrived into my new position, conversations I had with Mike Stewart prior to coming on board, I was informed of the current draft reorganization. I had the opportunity to make some adjustments as needed, but didn't really have a lot of insight into the inner workings of the functions within county government. I was relying on the work that had been done by on this recommended reorganization by the professional staff that had many years of experience in county government, to include both Mike Stewart and Scott Johnson, who was who the county hired as a consultant. I made a few recommended changes to the draft, which included not approving a second executive level position on the administrative side and to not execute on the public safety director position. Based on the guidance from those that developed this draft reorganization, I left the public safety director position in place, a position the county did previously have, but did not have it added to the FY 2023 budget. My plan is to take some time required to see if that position is really needed, and maybe come back later this year or next year with a plan to either keep the position or dissolve it. I want to note that the Public Safety Director position is the only position that recommended to be added. So therefore, there are no positions funded in FY23 as a result of this reorganization chart. This recommendation, the recommended organizational chart is standard based on my experience in leading government organizations. As stated in the memo, this structure, I think, will greatly help Glynn County become more strategic in planning for our future, and will allow me to introduce new initiatives, efficiencies, and performance measures to help better manage our county government. So the alternative is, number one, to accept the recommended organizational chart. If you have any suggestions, I'm to answer any of your questions. Thank you.
Commissioners, are there any questions you have for Mr. Fallon?
You feeling okay?
I'm sorry, did you have a question?
I just asked if you were feeling okay.
Yep, I'm good. Thank you. Thanks for asking.
All right, Commissioners, no further discussion. Are there any motions on the floor?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the county manager's recommended reorganization of county departments.
That's second.
I got a motion by Commissioner Neal, a second by Commissioner Tostenson. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes 7-0. I believe that concludes all our business for tonight, except, Mr. Attorney, do we have an executive session?
We do, Mr. Chairman. We have a matter of property acquisition to discuss, please.
All right, gentlemen, do I have a motion to go into executive session for property acquisition? Can I have that motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we go into executive session for property acquisition.
Have a motion to go in executive session for property acquisition, a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. That passes unanimously. We're adjourned. Have a motion to come out of executive session by Commissioner Neal, a second by Commissioner Booker. All in favor, raise your right hand. That's 7-0. Do we have any minutes or anything from it that we need?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Board of Commissioners approve the executive session minutes from April 21, 2022, and May 19, 2022 executive session.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Booker to approve the minutes from May 21st and May 19th. We have a second by Commissioner Neal. All in favor, raise your right hand. That passes 7-0. I need a motion to adjourn.
So move. Second.
We have a motion to adjourn, a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. That passes unanimously. We're adjourned.